What the hell is going on? Friends, this video is going viral on YouTube about Adventist couple who treated an adopted child so badly.
It started very slow. So it started a lot with like touching, hands being grabbed very tightly. So that's kind of like how it had started for me.
By the way, I do not know the whole truth about the story, but I think we can learn a lesson from it. All right. Don't forget to check out AdventistBusinessPromo.com, a hub for Adventist owned businesses. You know, the last time I checked on AdventistBusinessPromo.com, I saw a number of Adventist businesses, friends, and my business was there too. So if you are an Adventist and you have a business or you provide any service, please don't forget to list your business on AdventistBusinessPromo.com. With that being said, let's get right into the video that I was talking about and see this critical part of it, friends. This is the critical part of the video where the strongest allegation was made. So let's get into that, and after that I will share some thoughts with you.
I was never allowed to say that at home, behind closed doors, it was raw vegan only.
Was that for religious reasons?
Control, maybe?
Because I was a vegan for 5 years, so I know what it takes to be vegan. Raw vegan is next level. It's really intense.
Is like a whole other like stratosphere. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to say that for some people it works. I think it could. For a lot of people it doesn't, though, because it takes a lot to get enough of the nutrients that you need. It's possible, but you have to be really diligent. So did you feel like you were getting enough nutrition?
I did not. A lot of people even express that. So like teachers growing up would make remarks to them or to me. Classmates would say something to me for being too small. At the end of the day, that was my former mother's doing, and that is what she wanted. She wanted to hear those comments of me being small. She wanted me to be like deathly thin.
Why do you think that is?
More control.
So she was just a sadistic person in that way?
Yes.
Okay. What are some of your earliest memories being brought into this family? Did you feel an overall sense of love and happiness, like they truly wanted you there? Or do you feel like, I know in some cases, and this is horrible, some kids are adopted just to be exploited. Did you feel any sort of love growing up initially?
It's weird because it depends on what your definition of love is. I think as a child, it looked like love to me. When now with an outside lens, it was anything but love.
Yeah. Well, if it's all you ever knew, you don't really have anything to compare it to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're probably just grasping at anything, trying to feel that connection. I mean, children need connection to thrive and to survive, basically. So I think it's true that a lot of kids who are in abusive situations try to make anything feel like acceptance and love just for that survival sense.
Yes, that is correct.
So what are some of your earliest memories growing up in that home?
It's interesting with trauma is like your brain almost turns into Swiss cheese with the little holes through it. So it's like there's always a lot of like blanks. But then it's interesting that as I'm getting older and the more experiences that I have now, or if something even like reminds me of something, a memory or one of those Swiss cheese holes get filled.
Which can be a lot too, to uncover and to remember and to be put back in those situations, especially when you're not expecting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Earliest memories that I remember, it especially with like childhood sexual abuse, like it started very young, I would say, around like 7, 8. It started very slow. So it started a lot with like touching, hands being grabbed very tightly. So that's kind of like how it had started for me.
And did you want to say which family member this was?
Yeah, my former father was the one who did this.
I'm so sorry. That's so awful, especially when you purposely bring a child into your life through adoption, a helpless child who just needs a home, and then you exploit them. It really just makes me sick that there are people out there who would do something like that.
I personally believe they adopted me just for it to look good, because in the Adventist world, they want you to be perfect. They want you to look good. They want to hold you up on a pedestal. And so the adoption and like the miracle of adoption is very much that narrative, which fits for the Adventist church very well. So I think I was adopted just to look good for their family photos.
So in that way, did you ever feel like a real part of the family? It seems like they were purposely excluding you.
Yes.
Even within the home.
I don't think I ever felt like a full family member. I definitely did during like family reunions and different things like that. But like at home in closed doors, it was constantly like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Because none of this fits. When we're out with people, you love me, or at least you show that you love me. But then behind closed doors, it is the complete opposite.
Did your former mother know about the sexual abuse?
Yes. So I would say like rape started a bit older, but she was aware of it. There were times where she would watch in the doorway.
What?
Or she would, after my former father was finished, she would take me to the bathroom and watch me shower with a clear shower curtain.
What the hell?
Yeah.
So she was really in on it.
Yes.
And there's no other way to put it. Because there's a difference of being too afraid to say anything or stand up to your husband if you are also in an abusive, fear situation.
Then there's active participation.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, how did you feel as a child knowing that both of your parents, both of your caregivers were completely failing you? Did you have any adult around you who you felt like you could confide in and talk to about this?
At the time, I didn't know it was wrong. Because when it's so normalized from such a young age and you're kept in such a bubble, like the majority of my friends were Adventists, and then I'm being told growing up to not tell anyone, or something will happen to me or something to them. So it like instills fear in you for like the safety of your family, for yourself, and for how it's going to affect that family image. You just stay quiet.
Yeah.
And at that age, like, because it had happened for so long, the leap from just like touching and grabbing to full-fledged rape wasn't really much of a jump at all.
Really?
And it didn't seem wrong.
I can see how that would make sense in your head as a child when both parents are, no one's trying to stop it. No one's having this conversation with you. I know that within the church, there are extreme purity culture rules. How did that clash in your head, knowing what they're teaching you at church and then knowing what's going on at home?
What's interesting is purity culture, I feel like, at least for me, I didn't hear it a ton until I was older.
Okay.
But when I was older and it was brought up, it was a lot of my former father saying like, well, we're just getting you ready, or so you know. Or it was, well, you're still technically a virgin because I'm your father, so this doesn't really count. And God's telling me to do this to you.
So he was actively using God and the religion as a scapegoat or as a reason to do what he's doing.
Yeah, he would find like weird passages in the Bible, and now like thinking of it, like I don't know if some of these were even in the Bible, but he would pull stories and show that it was allowed.
Like, I mean, the first one that comes to my head is Lot and his daughters, but they got him drunk and technically assaulted him.
Technically, yes, but in the Adventist world, like, it's always the woman's fault.
So, is that a verse you remember him using?
That one had gotten mentioned once or twice, but I mean, everything else, I think they were just like random things that he would say meant what he wanted them to mean versus what they actually meant.
Yeah. And this is a tangent for another day, but I just have to say this is one of the issues that I have with people taking the Bible as a guidebook, a literal guidebook, because there are stories that can make anything justified, and you can just cherry pick what you want. You can make meaning out of anything that you read in there, and I think it's just so dangerous to take it in such a literal way.
It's the cherry picking for me that bothers me a ton. People will be like, oh, well, technically that was Old Testament. Like, we don't really touch on that anymore. They'll just be like, oh, well, that was then and this is now, or like this is now and this is how it should have been. And it's just like you're pulling random things, and times change, things are different, and a lot of people don't take the time to actually break a verse apart and look into the meaning of what things actually truly mean.
Right. Well, like the context of the people who wrote it in that time period from a historical perspective, not even a religious perspective, there's so much value to be had from that
Oh, yeah.
and understanding why they were writing what they were writing and what things meant at the time. But anyways, that's a whole thing for another day. Just say
I
that. It
mean,
drives me
I mean,
crazy.
the Bible was written by like 50 many people over at least a 2,000-year span. How are we supposed to believe everything in it?
I get that. And I understand that people can pull some beautiful meaning from it and things that help them in their life.
Yeah,
That I'm just
absolutely.
personally not one of those people. But anyways,
Yep.
your former father using this against you, making you feel like it's normal or it's expected, but then also instilling that fear in you, don't tell anyone or you'll be in trouble. I mean, that's so contradictory and confusing. Did you have any gut feeling to want to tell a friend or to see if anyone else was experiencing this, or were you just too ashamed and afraid?
I remember there was one sleepover, and I had begged and begged and begged for this sleepover because I was never allowed to go to other people's houses or like for any sleepovers or anything like that. People always had to come to my house. And so I had finally gotten the okay to go and do this sleepover. My friend's dad, when we were going to bed, he came in, said goodnight. He left the room, closed the door, which one closing the door would never have been allowed in my home. Closed doors was never allowed. He came in, said goodnight, left, and did not come back. And I thought that was just kind of like a one-time like fluke. Like he was just like putting on like a show.
Yeah.
Because at that time, because it was so normal for me, I kind of thought it was normal for everyone else.
Right.
I remember that next day asking her, being like, so like last night, like when your dad left, but like, does he like ever come back in later? And she was like, no, he's never. And that, I think, was like the first time where things started to just feel a little bit more wrong than normal.
How old were you when that happened? Do you remember?
I had to have been at least in my teens.
Okay. Like early teens, like 12, 13?
14, 15, maybe?
14. Yeah, I mean, I asked because that really gives a lot of context as to how much they were shielding you from knowing the truth. And I mean, that's pretty old to have that first realization of what was going on. They were doing a great job of keeping you isolated and afraid.
And at that
Wow.
point, because I had gone to the Adventist schools originally for that first grade year, but then after that, I went to another Christian school, and then after that one, for second grade, starting at third grade through eighth grade, I went to the local public middle school.
How did that affect you? Did you start to understand the huge
whiplash.
differences? It was whiplash?
It was whiplash, because you're getting yanked from like a super conservative private school where it's like one classroom in a public high school is probably the amount of students that were in the entire school.
Oh, wow. That is a big shock.
It's a huge shock. And then you're filled with so many other classes. There's so many more faces. There's teachers. There's new lunch rules where you can just sit at a lunch table, where it's like at a public school, I could have gone to the library. Whereas with the private school, it's more in the classroom. Like you eat in your classroom.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How did that affect you in your dietary restrictions placed by your mother? Were you allowed to eat regular school lunch, or did you have to bring
Packed lunches.
Man, so you had to watch everyone around you eating that cafeteria pizza and
One of my best friends, she would like let me try things like off and on. So like the school's pizza sticks, I've tried those. Oh my God, those, I would do anything for those.
did
Again.
that wreck your stomach?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My stomach was not happy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so public school, how did that affect your social ability? Because you've kind of been isolated in this world. Did you have a lot of social anxiety of trying to talk to people, or did you even try because you're not really supposed to have friends outside of the church?
I definitely had social anxiety, and I still do have social anxiety. I mean, I don't think I would have picked social media content creating if I didn't have social anxiety, because with social media content creating, it's just me and my phone, and there's nobody actually watching me.
I know. I feel the same way. Because when I started,
Yep.
sorry to like just
No,
bulldoze your
do it.
conversation, but I'm like, I get it because when I started doing social media influencing stuff on Instagram, everyone was like, "Oh, you're so extroverted." I'm like, "No, I'm really not though. It's just me talking to my phone."
Oh, I know. Like, I'm extroverted with the people that I really truly know. And then if I were to go to like a party or like a cookout or something else outside the house, I'm timid.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know you. And I mean, it also makes it awkward. Like, growing up the way that I did, like, with my story, if I were to go out and do things with friends or like out in public with meeting new people always want to know. So, like, so who are you? They always ask that question. So, who are you? What's your
Yeah.
story? Tell me about yourself. And it's like, do you want the PG version or like the rated X version?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. And I think it's a very real consequence of growing up in a cult that people don't necessarily recognize. And we've brought it up a few times on the show because that's one of my pet peeves too, is I hate telling people I'm from Utah because then we always talk about Mormonism, then it's just like takes over the
The
conversation.
immediate question is, oh, I guess you're Mormon.
Yeah, it's so I get that of just wanting to have the peace that you have without having to dive into some traumatic event with a complete stranger, but at the same time, you don't want to withhold and lie. And so it's like a tricky balance of trying to figure out how much do I want to disclose to this random person? How much do they deserve to know? How much do they actually want to know, or are they just being polite?
I know. And that's such a line. Like, it's so blurry to walk because I mean, you want to give an honest answer, but then at the same
hmm
time, like, your honest answer is somebody's worst nightmare. So it's,
Yeah. Yeah, I find that with the channel too when people ask, "What do you do?" Interview cult survivors, and then they ask follow-up questions. I'm like, "How much bandwidth do you have for
yeah.
this
Yeah.
conversation?"
It's gonna go back to you and why you're doing it.
Yeah, but anyway, back to you. So social anxiety in this new school. Did you settle in? Did you feel like you would prefer to be in a public setting versus the private school?
I would say that the public school felt a lot less safe.
Really?
And that feels crazy for me to be saying. The private school, we didn't have active shooter drills. We didn't have doors that were locked. So when I switched into public school, and I think like the first week that I was there, we had an active shooter drill through a lockdown drill. And my brain is like, why do I have to think about this here when I didn't have to think about it there? Yeah, we didn't have one drill.
And it makes you wonder, should they have had drills at your other school or
I think they have now started because there was a Seventh-day Adventist shooting at a school, I believe, just this past year.
oh my gosh. Yeah, it's such a scary world that we live in, and it's so sad that we have to be thinking about that. I mean, I'm terrified to put my kids in school. You just never know what could happen.
Yeah, I've thought about it like later in life if I decide to have kids, I'm like, do I want to just homeschool or like do I want to
Yeah.
like what? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrifying. But at the same time, like, you don't want to stop your kid from living.
Sure. Yeah, of course. And you don't want to pluck them out of society and make them feel weird and outcasted either. Not to say that's every homeschooler's experience, but it is a majority, I would say, from, well, at least for the people that I talk to. So, with that, with this big, scary world, did that further cement in your brain? I do need to stay Adventist because there is a big, scary world out there that's clearly trying to hurt us.
It definitely did, but at the same time, like, switching over to public definitely like exposed me to more options.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to just be Adventist because nobody in here is Adventist. I was the only Adventist in my public school. Like, I don't think most people, when you say that you grew up Adventist, they don't know what the hell you're talking about. They don't know about it. This church is massive, and yet it's like one of the most under talked about church.
That's what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So, is that because they truly don't want people to convert? Or, I mean, what's the reason for the secrecy, really?
I have no idea. No idea. I mean, with Mormons, you see them going like door to door. You see JWs going door to door. But I mean, with Adventists, I have not once ever seen an Adventist like missionary going to a door to offer up their religion. But I mean, they do a lot of like out of the country missions, so like to Africa, to Ethiopia, to a lot of like other countries, but never really in country.
Let's pause the video right here. Yeah, I think we need to pause the video right here. As I said earlier, friends, I don't know the whole truth about the story. But if what the lady said was the truth, friends, if what she said was true, then I strongly condemn the practice of abuse by the couple, by the Adventist couple. I strongly condemn. The Bible is very particular about how the poor, the marginalized, the stranger, and the less privileged are treated. And I want to show you some Bible verses. When you read Proverbs chapter 14, verse 31, the Bible says, "He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who harnesses him has mercy on the needy." Let me take that again. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 31. The Bible says, "He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who harnesses him has mercy on the needy." I can read a lot of Bible verses to you right now that talks about how God wants us to treat the marginalized, the poor, the oppressed, the stranger. The stranger who dwells among you shall be to you as one born among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So God wants us, his children, to treat all people, regardless of their economic status, regardless of where they are coming from, regardless of their color, to treat all people fairly, to treat all people as we would want people to treat us. All right. So, let me say that again. I strongly condemn the abuse of the Adventist couple. If the story is true, I strongly condemn the abuse, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, and all other forms of abuse that the lady actually received. But here is a point. What I do not agree with the video is this. The interview or the video tries to connect the couple's character with Adventism. There are some Adventist couples that adopted somebody and they treated them well. So the fact that a couple actually treated somebody so bad does not mean that that is how Adventists are, or does not mean that the treatment was the result of the Adventist faith. All right. So I don't agree with the video trying to connect the man's character with Adventism. The Adventist church does not encourage abuse, all forms of abuse. The Adventist church is strongly against all forms of abuse. All right, so there is no connection between the man's character and Adventism or what we teach in the church. All right, so friends, let me know what you think about the story that I've just shared with you. In fact, if you would like to watch the full video, I think it is more than an hour, right? More than 1 hour. So if you would like to watch the full video, I have linked it right in the description for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share our videos with family and friends. And also, lastly, don't forget to check out AdventistBusinessPromo.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time. God bless.